Anytime Nintendo releases a new system, you know you're in for something special, and the Nintendo Switch 2 has already surpassed my expectations. I'm having a blast with Mario Kart World. Mostly. Not the biggest fan of free roam, kind of empty and bland for my liking, but the racing's great, and Knockout Tour is probably the best addition to the series in a very long time. And I think everyone else is digging it as well. The Switch 2, as of this recording, is the fastest-selling game console launch of all time, which is very impressive. And you know why that even happened in the first place? It's because of that sweet old Nintendo magic, the detail and effort they sprinkle into all their work, like mystical software confetti. But back when we were watching the announcement stream for the new console, they showed off this one game they were working on called Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour. When I saw it, I thought, well, sure, that looks like it would be fun to try out. A little bit of soft introduction to all the console's hardware and abilities. And I was pretty happy about that, until they dropped at the very end that they'd be charging for it. What? You're gonna have us pay for what sounds like a fancy digital instruction manual?
Oh, you have to buy that?
I'd like to share some
I'm
more
not doing that.
information
Oh, the
regarding
welcome, I'm not buying
welcome
a
tours.
I'm not buying a welcome tour again.
This is the game card.
But then I got to thinking, this is Nintendo we're talking about. There is no possible way they made something half-butted and underdone. There has got to be something more to this thing. Why else would they make this its own standalone purchase? So on June 5th, the Switch 2 launch day, I Joy-Conned up and jumped in to find out. Welcome Tour takes place in a kind of theme park, composed of gigantic components and accessories for the Nintendo Switch 2 ecosystem. It's a wonderfully surreal visual. We play as a selectable, tiny little avatar navigating all around this informative wonderland, like we're ants crawling all over the devices. The game starts here on the left Joy-Con 2. Walking around for a bit, I get a sense of this space having a very Nintendo feel to it. Being able to choose an avatar and walk them around a very interactive world and talk to other tiny people, well, that's way better than making a rudimentary slideshow highlighting features. Wouldn't you agree? Oh look, a little person at a little desk. I wonder what they've got to show off. Ah, I can learn about the HD Rumble too. Well, I guess I'm interested. Why not? Oh, I guess I have to go through all these insights icons now. I wonder what these are. Oh, it's a rudimentary slideshow highlighting features. Cool. In fact, this isn't just an uninteresting set of boring cue cards riddled with random info. We are actually being tested on this information once we've read everything. Seriously. I mean, okay, maybe there's something more to this. I really don't find any of this info all that interesting to learn, but there must be a grander purpose. I mean, folks, it's Nintendo. Maybe once you complete all the quizzes, it'll reveal something. Like Mario in a Speedo. Those are nipples. So I ventured off to go find more quizzes, but instead, I found a bridge with a guard who wouldn't let me pass unless I proved that I collected enough stamps. What stamps? Were there stamps somewhere? Did I miss that? So I looked around and found these invisible podiums that appear suddenly when you get close enough, each one highlighting a feature of the hardware, like buttons and stuff like that. You've got to find every single one. Otherwise, the rest of the world in this game is locked off by these brutal bridge trolls who refuse to let you pass unless you've collected all the stamps from a specific area. Okay. Starting to get a little frustrated here, but I mean, it's not like the stamps are gonna highlight really stupid things we don't need to learn about, right? Like here, let's see what this podium here shows us. The power button? Oh, great. Thanks, Nintendo. Glad you showed us that. Not like we didn't turn on the freaking machine with that exact button just to get to this point. I don't need to be taught the locations of buttons and features of the system that I already know. I mean, I had to operate plenty of them just to get to this dumb stamp hunt in the first place. And I'm only doing this stupid hidden podium search to get access access to the rest of this game and complete these quizzes. I kept finding quiz after quiz after quiz. There are just so many. By my count, there's about 50. That's a lot of quizzes. I trusted there was a greater purpose to these slideshows, taking quizzes, sometimes with multiple retries, until I got a perfect score. Because, by the way, you need to ace each test. Otherwise, you need to do the quiz all over again. I can't even skip looking at their dumb slideshows. I tried to just take the quiz in advance, but they wouldn't let me. I had to sit there and watch all of them. If you thought 50 quizzes was a lot, there's over 170 of these beasts. I started to think to myself, shouldn't I stop? But no. I'm doing this because I know Nintendo. They wouldn't put this many technical knowledge tests and PowerPoint presentations in a game unless there was some pot of gold waiting for me on the other side of this question-filled rainbow. But even with the belief of there being some reward for my troubles, it still took me hours to complete. But here we are, the last quiz desk. What amazing thing awaits me after taking on this trial? This? I spent all this time to get a crown image on my map HUD? I'm now the Quiz King! I've done all the quizzes! Ah! No. This has gotta be a mistake. You know what? I didn't collect all the stamps yet. Maybe if I collect all of them paired with doing all the quizzes, maybe that will reveal something cool. Okay, so collecting all the stamps gets me to this final area where I've got to speak to this person at a desk who clearly has some secret surprise for me. And it's a quiz. A final quiz? One that happens to be longer than all the other quizzes we've already done? What? Why? Shouldn't we get a final quiz at the end of doing the quizzes and not the stamps? What am I saying? I don't want a final quiz. I don't want more quizzes. This game is messing with my head. And after you finish that final quiz, again, you get nothing. So I guess knowledge is its own reward. For I am the Quiz King. Gaze upon my crown. Thank goodness I now know the freaking sewing pattern of the Joy-Con 2 wrist strap, or that the connecting piece that locks on has fiberglass embedded in it to keep it from bending. This was crucial information. Pointless questions do not further the game-playing experience for the average player. Even some of the answers they place in the multiple-choice field are written off as jokes, which I'd probably find humorous if I wasn't so frustrated with all the monotony. And it's very easy to say after the fact, well, just don't do them if they're so annoying. But when you start this experience completely fresh like I did, and you don't know what it is, you have no idea they're optional. They tricked me into doing schoolwork. They also tricked me into being, I don't know, a golden retriever, fetching and returning patrons' lost items you find throughout the game. A task made extra tedious by the fact that you can't carry multiple items at one time, meaning that when you find any item, you need to return it to one specific location on the entire map before being able to pick up a second item. This back and forth was so annoying, but again, I thought there would be a greater purpose, some reward for being a good digital Samaritan, but nope. Just some confetti and the title of VIV, Very Important Visitor. Why did they design any of this? Nintendo is usually really good at offering some kind of carrot on a stick, a reward for completing a task or something, but they seem to just not care. I completed hours of quizzes and stamp collecting and hat finding. For what? Well, that what might be the game part of this whole tour de force. If everything else has been a wash and a waste of time, Nintendo is usually pretty dang good at the whole game-making thing, right? Lucky for us, there are a collection of tech demos and minigames. These are scattered all throughout every part of the Welcome Tour map, and they're the only reason to unlock each section. So let's cross our fingers that it was worth it. Let's start off with what should be an easy win, the tech demos. All these have to be are basic examples of cool new features for the Switch 2. They don't even really need to be games. Huh. Okay. Are these demos supposed to make me feel excited about the new console? Because they're falling flat. Each example kind of feels a little underbaked, like it's not selling enough of what the system can do. This Maracas demo? Well, yeah, it feels like a real rubber ball inside a Joy-Con. But this exact example was previously accomplished with 1-2 Switch. And the way 1-2 Switch gamified trying to figure out just how many balls were inside the controller, it was actually somewhat fun. Am I saying 1-2 Switch was fun? I think I feel sick. Strangely, sometimes the tech demos have poor visuals. This is confusing, as nothing to my eye is truly that visually challenging. The Switch 2 is a very capable system. Have you not seen Mario Kart World? It's purty. Yet, in the motorcycle tech demo showing off the motion controls, I saw very bad aliasing artifacts all over. How is this happening? The console is running at 4K resolution. It's very evident and it sticks out. It should not be looking like this. Run some anti-aliasing for crying out loud. This is making the Switch 2 look underpowered when it really isn't. They tried to show off the Switch 2's 4K abilities with this demo that plops the first level of Super Mario Bros. In the middle of the screen. But get this, in its native NES resolution, and as you play, the level stretches across the screen. An interesting way to show off how much detail is contained in a 4K image? Sure, but there must have been a better way to showcase that outside of having players squint and move closer to their TVs to make Mario do his Mario thing properly. The most impressive demo was when they ran sound effects through the HD Rumble 2, so you could hear sounds coming from the controller. Which is dramatically less impressive when you remember that the Wii remotes had speakers in them already that sounded clearer and louder than what's being demoed here. Which is saying something, because the Wii remote speakers didn't sound that clear or that loud to begin with. So even that is kind of a miss. I think you can simplify it down pretty much like this. No one tech demo is exciting or entertaining. They're mildly interesting, maybe, but nothing here so far that I've seen is worth the price of admission to this snooze park. While these tech demos are definitely game-like, they're not what I would consider true video games. That's where this next collection comes into play, the Minigames. Nintendo is known for making fun and charming gaming experiences that keep us coming back for more. And from the extremely small collection of Switch 2 games I've already played, I've seen just how capable of a system this little portable magic machine can be. But none of that is on display here. The wonder and awe that is always on tap with the Nintendo-quality game designs you've come to expect from them are, as far as I can see, entirely absent from every minigame you'll come across. The majority of minigames are devoid of enjoyment. They are mostly just simple samples or interactive exhibits with tacked-on time limits you'd need to hit. See, this is the kind of gamification that just screams rush job to me. Doing tedious tasks really fast does not make a fun game experience. If it did, my late-night rush to finish filing my taxes would be a thrill ride. I know many folks would argue against calling these stapled-in time limits or any of these games hurried or half-baked, but I'm struggling to think of these as anything other than that. The best way I can explain it is like this. Doing your laundry, washing your dishes, or doing any mundane activity is not suddenly more enjoyable when you put a time limit in place. Take, for example, the Scrapoff minigame. I'm not even going to attempt to justify this. You're scraping colored stains off a wall with a timer. That's the game. They're really telling me to sit there rubbing the Joy-Con as fast as I can up and down to simulate scraping something? Did anyone at Nintendo seriously think that was enjoyable? This is the kind of thing you'd unlock as a bonus or a joke or something. It is definitely not a game. By this point, Nintendo has already demonstrated how the mouse works with a UFO spiky ball dodging game, and it was fine enough. So what is this supposed to prove? What does it demonstrate? It is nothing. This lacks any excitement or fun for accomplishing anything. It's just terrible. To further camouflage these experiences as games, they've added a system of 3 medals to almost every minigame that are earned by completing the tasks at different levels of excellence. But that 3rd medal, the highest scoring level, can be impossible to get. That 3rd medal will usually have a time limit goal that is so frustratingly short to pass that you might end up physically hurting yourself to earn it. A ball-rolling maze game where you have to avoid electrified walls. A point-and-click target game where you have to shoot as fast as possible. And a game where you have to color inside the lines of a bunch of random pictures. And if you're even one fraction of an inch outside with a single pixel, you lose and you have to start all over again. No matter how much we practiced, it would be just out of reach for a few of these games. And the most difficult all involved mouse controls. We were whipping our hands as fast as lightning across our tabletop, and it always came across as inconsistent. Luck, not skill, seemed to play the biggest hand here. Speaking of luck, another game where practice doesn't make perfect is Strongest Vibration. It's a seemingly simple game. Move your Joy-Con left or right with the mouse function, trying to pinpoint where the vibration with the HD Rumble 2 is strongest. When you think you found it, you click down to see how close you were. Now, see, this could be interesting, because it's haptic feedback, or vibrations with a mouse. PC mice typically don't have that, so this could be a unique experience provided by the Switch 2. Right? Well, the problem here is that feeling where there is any vibration, that is easy, but getting it down to within the exact point is frustrating. In fact, even if you hit the dot right on the center like I did, the game still treats it like you're 2 points off. This is a badly designed experience that can make the HD Rumble 2 feel lesser than it is. Not to bring up 1-2 Switch again, but it had a haptic feedback section that demonstrated this exact idea more effectively. It's a safe-cracking game where you feel the subtle clicks of rotating a dial. The difference of the clicks tells you the hidden combination that you're looking for. Believe it or not, it's kind of fun. Much more fun than this vibration game. I'm saying 1-2 Switch is better again? I don't like what this game is doing to me. Welcome Tour added multiple iterations of this vibration minigame, each one stacking the deck more and more against the player, leaving one to consider if it's difficult to play because the HD Rumble 2 just isn't that good, which is not where you want someone's mind to be wandering with their brand new console. And did you see the maracas? The HD Rumble 2 is quite good. It really does feel like there's a rubber ball in there. When you have shiny new tech, you want it to be the star of the show, like the Switch 2's 4K capabilities that we talked about with the Super Mario tech demo. I wasn't exactly impressed with that demonstration, but it got worse. This is 4K Pixel Hunt. They put 5 tiny lit pixels on the screen and you have to find them. You get to choose the brightness level from barely visible down all the way to, are you freaking kidding me? Is there even anything there? And you need to do it as fast as possible. You know what? How about you folks try and play this at home? Here is the exact screen you see while playing this game. Can you see any of the 5 pixels you're supposed to point out? Here, we'll highlight them so you can get a little bit of a closer look. This is a minigame, Nintendo? Pixel peeping? To prove what? That 4K pixels are tiny? It's like they actually made a sequel to fix the adventure.
We found another tiny pixel.
And then another?
And then another?
It's not a good game. This was an insult. The whole Rerez team tried out a bunch of these minigames, and nobody was really having fun. That's not great for a group that lives and breathes gaming on a daily basis. There is no possible way that the folks at Nintendo really felt like this was ready for prime time. In this swimming minigame, you'll get to experience dual mouse inputs, something totally unique to the Switch 2 experience. This ought to be a cool showcase for a completely new type of gameplay. But here, while you're dragging your mouse in half circles as fast as you can to get to the finish line, your little dumb swimmer starts banging into the sides of the pool, getting stuck, sending you into a panic trying to readjust yourself with dueling mice as fast as you can. It's freakishly bad. I've never been more angry while playing the Switch 2. The problem that I think is going down here is that the mouse movements don't appear to be translating to what's happening on the screen correctly. Sometimes when I feel like I'm using around the same amount of speed moving both the Joy-Cons in mouse mode, I get two drastically different movements and speed results. I don't know if that is what is happening exactly, but that is what it feels like. It's totally uncontrollable. Another function of the Switch 2 mouse sensor is the addition of gyroscopic input, meaning that unlike your trusty PC mouse, this controller can identify your wrist rotation. So you can play a game of golf where you rotate the mouse around to get the perfect angle. This originally sounded like a cool idea, but it's abso-freaking-lutely not a cool idea in the slightest. You quickly start to understand why something like this was not introduced with PC mice. Your wrist can only bend so much. My hand don't work like that, Nintendo. Nobody's does. This golf game is just a far worse version of the almost identical golf game Nintendo included in Clubhouse Games' 51 Worldwide Classics. Congratulations, Nintendo! You somehow managed to make two almost identical looking games, but make the newer one worse in every conceivable way. The Welcome Tour version even looks like a visual downgrade. The lowest point for the Minigames is they actually designed a game that you will not be able to play without a special accessory. The Switch 2 Pro Controller. There is one single game that requires it, a combination button pushing game that makes use of the back buttons on this controller. And if you don't have a controller with these back buttons, you can't get these medals. I bought the Pro Controller. I actually like the Pro Controller, but you should never ever buy it just to play this game. I'd argue this could have easily been done with the Joy-Cons, aside from the combination of using the back paddles, I guess. But even then, I wouldn't want to play it. They just telegraph inputs you need to match. It's just so boring. And don't even get me started on the other accessory minigames, like the camera one. You're trying to match this face here with your own facial movements, and boy, folks, it ain't working. It ain't working at all. Is this a game? Or this? Or this? Are any of these things a real game? Maybe with the thinnest definition of the word, yes, but they're far from earning that Nintendo seal of quality. Is every possible game in the selection bad? Well, no, because if that were true, this Welcome Tour would be featured front and center on one of our other shows about games that are just bad. There are actually good experiences to be found here. Balloon Hunt is probably one of the best games they've got. This minigame shows a clear example of an advantage over PlayStation 5, Xbox Series systems, and even the mighty PC. This here should be a very big deal. Nintendo is demonstrating better controls for first-person games natively for consoles. In fact, in some ways, this goes way beyond your typical PC game control as well. With a PC, you'd use the WASD keys on your keyboard to move around and your left shift key to run. That is 5 keys you're operating with one hand. With the use of your left hand on the Joy-Con though, you can move around freely with analog movement, slowly walking or moving faster in any direction with a degree of control that PC games lack with a keyboard. And combined with mouse aiming that also bundles in haptic feedback, a feature you're not gonna find on modern PC mice, some players might consider this better than playing on PC. And I'm very tempted to say that what Nintendo is showing here is in fact better than PC controls. But I have yet to be completely convinced, because that heaped praise ends here. This obviously worthy game is so underthought. There are only 3 levels in total. I mean, come on, I want to play more of this. There is simply not enough to do. The Nintendo I've come to know over my entire life would have added so much more to this. I don't need them to put in Nintendo IP or anything like that. I don't even need them to make the visuals more interesting. What I expected, though, was a much larger selection with a mix of interesting level layouts, unique ideas, and variations on gameplay. But they provided so shockingly little that it sets you up for a massive disappointment when it ends with only a few brief moments of gameplay. I really wish I could recommend at least one of these games, something that had depth and exploration to it, but in totality, nothing like that is to be found anywhere in Welcome Tour. I think at the core of what we're seeing here is that the games themselves are really just badly designed. When you combine physical motion controls and mouse movements, and even mouse rotation, you've introduced possibly millions of variations of unpredictable movements that the games are clearly not prepared for. Remember that swimming game? Why do I have free-form rotational movement? That sucks. Just keep me locked in place, moving forward. This instantly adds frustration where none was needed. This is enough to make any novice and unseasoned gamer feel completely inadequate. Upsetting the player is not the way to win fans, Nintendo. Not at all. I think it's safe to say Nintendo just dropped the ball here. Compare this to the Wii. In North America on day one, we got Wii Sports, and it wasn't some extra $10 game, it was bundled with the console. If you bought a Wii, you got Wii Sports. You could quickly pick up a Wiimote, and with little effort, the whole family could bowl together, play tennis, and experience what was at the time groundbreaking motion control games. Even if you're not a fan of the sports they represented, they still had a sense of that classic Nintendo wonder and fun. Where Wii Sports effortlessly showed multiplayer fun, Welcome Tour features no multiplayer games. I mean, why? We've got 2 Joy-Cons. Shouldn't you be excited to show off how easy local multiplayer can be? Not all the games in Wii Sports were bangers. Yes, but the collection cared less about telling you how the digital sausage was made. The emphasis was more on the software showing you its uses through the language of gameplay. And at the end of the day, I think they're a far more elegant way of engaging the player and setting the tone for the hardware's capabilities. And seriously, Wii Sports Golf versus whatever this crap is here? Wii Sports isn't just a better, far more entertaining game, it's also an extremely effective showcase of what the Wii was capable of. Even Sony achieved a similar result with Astro's Playroom for the PlayStation 5, a fantastic, wonderfully energetic game that perfectly demonstrates what the PlayStation 5 could do. Its stages, textures, and models built out of the components of the PlayStation 5 hardware. Each level demonstrates features and abilities of the new controller and console, and the levels themselves designed to highlight and explain in a fun way what the specific hardware does. Astro's Playroom isn't just a better game, it's a better Welcome Tour, and it's far more enjoyable and fun to play. And it was free with a PlayStation 5. How could Nintendo make something leagues worse and charge for the disappointment? The rubber maraca balls on them. Look, I know Welcome Tour isn't devoid of effort. There are real game developers behind this, but for whatever reason, the final product does them no justice. It just doesn't feel like Nintendo. Nobody should buy this. Obviously. From my experience, this isn't demonstrating the functions and abilities of the Switch 2 in a good light. It made me question not only what the Switch 2 is capable of, but it made me doubt my own abilities at playing video games. Nobody should play Welcome Tour. Period. Even if they make it free and refund everyone who did pay, it would still cost you so much of your time that could have been better spent doing anything else. Not only is this an awful experience, but it could possibly damage people's impressions of the very impressive Switch 2 hardware and its capabilities. Nintendo can do better. I know they can. They know they can. You know they can. Because we've all seen it. Now we just have to hope that they learn from this very embarrassing mistake.